So this is the Crack. It's located near the top of the tallest building in the entire Halo franchise. And it's also one of the most difficult spots to reach in the entire franchise. Is it even possible though? Let's give it a shot! So this is High Charity. Well, it's a building in High Charity. High Charity is a massive Covenant-occupied city, and it also travels freely, and it's basically their home base. Now this building contains the entire mission. That is, the mission High Charity in the Covenant City High Charity. And I think the game developers, Bungie, wanted to get some scale for how large this was, so they designed this grandiose building. And it's huge, like massive. One time I timed the amount of time, alliteration, it took to fall all the way from the top to the bottom of the structure. And it was 22 seconds in game. Real time. And my goal was to get to one of the hardest places to reach in the entire game, the Crack just below the top of High Charity. But there's a little bit of a problem with doing this. On the mission High Charity, there's not really a way to get to this Crack. It would really only be possible from the beginning platform where you're fighting the Flood and Brutes, and even then, this isn't really a possibility. The surfaces on the way up to this Crack on this mission just don't fit. Even if you could find a way to somehow create an explosion to get yourself all the way up there, you still would have to land perfectly on the platform because the fall timer in Halo 2 is about 3 seconds. Once your player starts going down, those 3 seconds begin. But also, the geometries just don't line up. On this map, there's surfaces all the way up to this Crack that interfere with any sort of flight path that would be able to get to this area. So, we've already ruled out being able to do this on High Charity. What's the alternative? Well, this exact building is actually on the mission Gravemind. And funnily enough, it's the exact same design and structure. But luckily for us, that means that the Crack still exists in its same form. But unluckily, getting to this Crack was going to be a million times more difficult. Really, the only way to get to it is from the beginning of the mission. But from this part, the Crack is about 5 miles away. So somehow, you would have to 1. Get the distance to go all the way up to the Crack, 2. Get the perfect trajectory so that you don't die to fall timer, and 3. Try not to go too fast that you die from hitting the surface. But I would need something powerful enough to get me there in the case that I could meet all of these 3 qualifications. Of course, I would make a massive grenade pile. Then I would throw a plasma grenade at it and pop goes the weasel. So I played through the beginning of the mission and then I killed the enemies that came up the lift just outside of the beginning section. Nice. From here, I lined up where I was going to set up my grenade pile. I needed to be just outside of the structure above me. Probably like the only area that I could actually set up in without hitting the... I needed to be able to draw a straight line right through the Crack without hitting the shite right there. Using 2 players, I beat plasma grenades out of my second player using the Pinata skull. In order to get about 100 grenades out quickly, I used a combination of the Black Eye skull, which gives you double overshields, and the Streaking skull, which gives you increased overshields every time you throw a grenade. After about 10 minutes of doing this, I had a stack of around 50 to 60 plasma grenades. Now, my next step was sorting these all into a nice neat pile. After about 5 minutes of shooting these into place, I had my pile ready. Now I just needed to get a checkpoint. Then I would be able to throw my plasma grenade at the stack of plasma grenades and try to see if I could get the distance to get to the Crack. Conveniently, you can get a checkpoint just by having a player go up to the Cortana model. This is one of the easiest checkpoint setups I'd ever done. Almost immediately, I realized that I messed up this entire setup. Oh my... I forgot to get double overshields before I had a second player get this checkpoint. I didn't get overshield. I once again set up my grenade pile, except this time I doubled the amount of grenades I was using. I would rather be going too fast than too slow. And to expedite this process, I went back through the mission and picked up a second plasma pistol so I could move more grenades quickly. I was able to move about double the amount of grenades that I had from the previous time in the same exact amount of time. Thank you, dual wielding. This time I actually filled up to double overshields before I had my second player get the checkpoint. Now I was ready to officially do this. My first attempt wasn't very good, but it did prove to me one thing. Good first launch. I would have enough power to potentially pull this off. I was just going to have to get an insanely accurate attempt. I think I'm slowing down. It's hard to tell though. Yeah.
Step in. It's safe, really. Just step in. Step in.
After 5 minutes of doing this, I was having mixed results. Then I had a really good attempt.
On the Cairo, I know you're not afraid of heights.
Oh, short. But this attempt was quickly followed up by a realization. If I hit towards the top lip of the crack, the distance to fall to the bottom of the crack was too great, which means that hitting the top of the crack was almost going to be a certain death. I would have to hit lower on the structure. Just short of the crack. I'm going faster than my bullets. I was only getting towards the crack about once every 5 minutes. And on this attempt, I made another discovery. Even landing halfway up the top of the crack inside of it, crack shot, means you fall too long and you die from fall time.
I'm in the crack.
What? I would have to be even more precise to pull this off. Well, wouldn't have landed that if I would have reset there. What the? This looks... Why is this warping in perspective? That's weird. Oh. Wonder how far this goes over. I'm gonna check this real quick. Oh, just fell off the map. So much for that.
It's safe, really. Just step in.
Ooh. Might be good. I have time to itch my nose, adjust my glasses, go get a beer. After about an hour of attempts, I was getting worse, not better. My attempts were getting further and further from the crack. At this point, I decided to call it quits. I gotta give up for now. But you know how I be, so I booted this up the next day and got it all set up again. Are we finally gonna land the crack? No. Wait, what? I went through it. Nice. I discovered that the middle center support column in this crack in the anniversary graphics isn't actually solid, so what looked like it was going to be a perfect attempt was for nothing. At this point, I was an hour into my second attempt session. I was able to attempt this hundreds of times, but I wasn't having any success again. It was looking more and more likely like I wasn't going to be able to pull this off. I had over 2 hours invested into this trick total and over 300 attempts. Regardless, I wanted to give this an honest try and push forward. Then I did something that I am well known to do if you're a longtime viewer of this channel. Well, that said that. I restarted the mission, and surprisingly, the longest part of this setup is getting through the first room in Gravemind. To go from starting the mission and getting my setup ready is about 20 to 25 minutes, and I didn't want to have to invest that much more time. It was looking increasingly more likely that I wasn't going to be able to pull this off, but I cast away the frustrations of the previous day, and you might notice that in this scene I'm wearing a different shirt. I once again got this set up, but this time I wasn't going to be shortchanged on the power of the grenade. The previous 2 times, I had a very low percentage of what even would be considered somewhat close attempts. This time, I was going to shoot like a rocket, which meant I would need to double the grenades once more. So this time, I set up about 120 of them. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, but I had a second player watching the grenade pile at all times. If you don't have someone looking within a 90-degree field of view of this grenade pile, all of the grenades will disappear. After just a few attempts, I found out that we were cooking. This new grenade setup was launching me crazy fast. After just a few attempts, I was already getting pretty close. First time I died from going too fast. Oh, come on. Is this it? Is this the crack shot?
After that stunt on the Cairo, I know you're not afraid of heights.
Oh, you're kidding me. Come on. Oh. After another full hour of attempting this on the 3rd day, I still wasn't having any success. I was pretty much at my wit's end with this. I kept coming so close, but even my close attempts weren't that close. In 3 total hours of doing this, I only had 1 attempt that I potentially could have made it. Before I gave up on this a 3rd time, I wanted to try a different grenade explosion strategy. The previous times, I was throwing a plasma grenade and then jumping on where the pile was going to be. On the good attempts, the plasma grenade pile would explode just a couple of feet under me. I had a different idea. Maybe I could just throw the plasma grenade at this pile, stand in front of it, and then jump. After 10 minutes of trying this new approach, it just wasn't working. The aim was far less predictable, the power of the grenade explosion was far less, and the trajectory was typically more vertical. I wasn't even covering the horizontal distance required with this new strategy. And to make matters worse, I started goofing around. I jumped to the lower ledge and died, but right as I was going to revert to the last checkpoint to reset attempts, I got a checkpoint from going to the lower section and activating it. And yes, even though I was dead, I still activated the checkpoint from simply being in that section. This meant that my setup was completely ruined. The main difference from Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2 is, if all players in the game die 3 to 5 times within 3 seconds, the game automatically reverts you to the previous checkpoint. Not the one before, but the one before that. And unluckily for me, I was controlling both players at the same time. Because there was a shield differential between player 1 and player 2, that meant both players wouldn't die at the same time, even if I threw a grenade at their feet. And I was also using skull multipliers. I was using the Feather and Sputnik skull, so a grenade blast would just send me off the edge, and I would go so far that I wouldn't die in time. Which meant, if I wanted any chance of being able to do this, I would have to set this up a 4th time. So I made the painful decision, after nearly 500 failed attempts and 3.5 hours of failure, to set this up and give it one more shot. Like I said, there's not really a good way to change your momentum in the air. Sometimes it seems as if you have almost no effect. In Halo 2, there's not really a way to change your momentum in midair. You can adjust it slightly, however, it's extremely slow. So this meant if I actually wanted to be able to pull this off, I would have to get the perfect trajectory. Picture perfect. Just gonna miss. Yep. That's fall damage now. Yo! Crack number 2 completed? This does not look like you should be able to stand on it, but... Oh, I fell. Boo! So close. Come on, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it. No! Another close one, but I guarantee it's not gonna make it. Yep. Ooh, is this good? Is this good? I don't know. Oh. Oh, I accidentally restarted the mission. Dude. Come on.
What?
Yep, I'm an idiot, and I restarted the mission again. But after 4 hours, I didn't care. So I set it up again in the hopes that maybe I could just get lucky once. Damn, I'm never gonna hit this crack. Might be it. Really? Boom! Finally! Legitimately one of the hardest spots in all of Halo Reach. I'm sweating. I'm sweating. That took so long. Woo! Alright, let's check it out, gentlemen. Oh, wow. Ceiling's really dark in the OG. Really, really dark up here. So this structure is completely solid, and that extends all the way around the entirety of the building. But while this area is massive and completely designed, there really isn't that much to do. This building is actually so large, it took me 4 minutes just to get 3/4 of the way around it. This structure is huge. Walking this is taking forever. It was actually so large that I got tired of walking, so I started throwing grenades behind me to expedite this process. Gee, this pink orb thing in the OG or in the classic or the anniversary graphics. Absolutely crazy distance here. It's so dark in the OG graphic. Trying to expedite the process by throwing a grenade and moving myself faster ended up backfiring. I might die. I launched myself a little bit too high in the air. Nice. And I couldn't reach the ground before I died from fall timer. But regardless, doing this just one time wasn't enough for me. I wanted to see if I could pull it off again. Not even 4 minutes later, this happened. Oh my god, no way. Took me 4 hours to get it the first time and 4 minutes to get it the second time. Oops.